This video is all about accommodation in London. If you're a student looking for an accommodation or somebody who's just planning to move to London, this will definitely help you. Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Samika. If you're new here, welcome. I have divided the video according to few categories. I'm going to try to explain housing in London is, where you can stay, other advices and tips. Before we start, let me tell you I'm doing my masters in luxury brand management in London. If you're confused where to stay and you went on the website and tried to search a lot कि मैं कहाँ पे रहूँ, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कौन से areas, क्या zone 1, क्या zone 2, I'll explain. So London is divided into zones. This took me a lot of time to understand what's going on, how this works. And by zones, I mean there are multiple zones starting from zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the zones are basically in circular geographical areas instead of just 1, 2, 3 side by side. No. So zone 1 is in the center, like central London. That's zone 1. And after that comes zone 2, which is surrounding zone 1. And then surrounding zone 2 is zone 3. And that's how the zones are divided. After that, you can differentiate and categorize where to stay by choosing either south, east, west, north London or northeast, southwest London. I'm just giving you an example. It completely depends on you where you want to stay, but that's how the categories are. When I came, I stayed in Waterloo, that is zone 1, southeast London, and sometimes a lot of areas are between zone 1 and zone 2. So there are multiple factors. You will understand them once you come to London. But for now, just remember London has zones. How will the zones help you? So the zones will help you to identify the rates and expense of that place. Suppose if you're staying in zone 1, it's central, it will obviously be expensive. And as you move away from zone 1, your rent and cost of living will definitely reduce. But again, there are factors. For example, Wembley Park comes in zone 4. The area is expensive and is developing, but just beside it is Wembley. The prices are according to zone 4. Now let's talk about what type of places you can stay at. For a student, it can be a uni accommodation, private student accommodation, or you can stay with your landlord, or sometimes your university may not have its own student accommodation, so it partners up with other private accommodations. So you can also consider that. Now the common category and student accommodation can also stay alone or with a landlord or with your friends if you have. So if you're a student and if you're confused whether you should be staying in a student accommodation, whether it is given by your university or a private student accommodation, or you should go for something private where you find your own room and stay with unknown people or with your friends, the cost will be less. But according to me, I've stayed in both. I feel I would prefer living in a student accommodation. So right now I'm staying in a studio and I prefer living in a studio. I get the student feels when I am living in a student accommodation. Everybody around me is a student and I get to connect to people. We have fun. It feels like I'm living a university life. Again, the private student accommodations are very, very small, and the room I used to stay earlier was quite huge for the price I was paying. But I would still prefer a studio because I like living alone. But if that's not you and you like staying with people, that's fine. The next question could be, should you stay in a university given accommodation or some other private student accommodation? Now this can be tricky because if you stay in uni accommodation, there are chances that you will stay on campus and you will make friends who are already from the same university. You may not get the chance of making other friends or socializing with other different people, but the perks are that you don't have to pay to travel every day to uni. In fact, you literally stay 2 minutes away, so you can anytime come home, eat your food, go back. So the perks are amazing. But the only thing, according to me, is that if you stay in a different private accommodation, you meet different people, and anyways, you're gonna meet people here at uni. You get to travel more, you get to see more things. But maybe you can switch, maybe stay here for like 6 months, book and then book another accommodation for 6 months. Keep changing if things don't feel right to you. Also, if you're booking an accommodation, you can also book a whole unit. If you and your friends are coming from a place and it's 5 of you and you don't mind sharing the kitchen, you can definitely book an entire unit. Wait, let me explain how the accommodation is. Usually there are multiple flats on the same floor and each flat has 5 rooms, private rooms and bathrooms, and maybe a shared kitchen. Some accommodations also have 10 rooms and 1 kitchen, which can be a mess. I don't recommend 10 people sharing a kitchen, so try to find like 5 people kitchen. If 5 of you guys have already been friends, you can just book an entire higher unit, so you know that you won't be with anybody else or some random person. You will be with your own squad, and that will be more comfortable. Oh, I forgot to tell you. If you are living in Institute is basically you having a bathroom and your own room, just sharing kitchen. Sometimes the kitchen can be a mess, and if you are a clean freak like me, when people mess things up and they don't clean after that, messing is fine. Just not cleaning after they use is very filthy. It can be something to worry about. That is why I chose a studio apartment. I saw my friend's ensuite room and I was like, oh, the room looks good. I went to the kitchen. I'm still traumatized. I cannot understand how some people stay like that. And if you're bored of living in a student accommodation, maybe you can move out after 6 months. You just have to find a replacement, and maybe you can move in with your new friends if you didn't have friends before coming to London. Maybe you have met them in uni or I don't know, any place like an event, student events, anywhere, and you guys know that, oh, we can move in together. This person is nice. You can do that. You just have to find a replacement. Now you'll be like, okay, all of this is amazing. Where do I search for an accommodation? Starting with the websites which I have used personally, and I did get good rooms, and I have found replacements from those websites too for my previous apartments. First is Spare Room. You can just filter out whatever area you want to stay in. It could be zone 1, zone 2, or according to your budget. Second is Zoopla, and third is Rent a Room. Wait, let me check if it's a room. Open Rent, sorry. Yeah. Second place where you can search are WhatsApp groups. So try to find and join authentic groups which you know that are not gonna scam you or anything. And I've joined student groups, and a lot of people keep posting ads when they want to find a replacement or give their room away if they're moving out or going back to their country. So that could be a really good place to find. Third place could be through contacts or contacting your old students. Contacts can be great. Maybe you know somebody from London and maybe they can refer you to a place and it's easier to find. And getting an offer, it's a very tedious process. So I would suggest start finding one immediately if you're planning to come in September. Another place you can find apartments could be Facebook Marketplace. I do not really recommend it because even though apartments might look fancy and very affordable, that's usually not the case, because apartments in London, those bougie apartments which Facebook Marketplace shows at that rate, feels like a scam. Few people I know did get good deals from Facebook Marketplace, but I don't know, I feel it's a scam. You just have to be careful, okay? Don't go to random place after coming here, especially alone. Try to be safe. Let me give you a few tips when you find accommodation in London. These are completely based on my experience and what I prefer. First is staying next to the station. If you're going to use public transport and if you're planning to stay in zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, I personally like to stay next to the station. If it's an amazing safe area, then it's fine. But if I know it's kind of shady and I don't know that area, if I'm going to be alone all the time, I'm going to come home late at night or go early, I'm not sure. So I prefer staying next to the station. A lot of humans are quite courageous. They don't care. They're like, yeah, it doesn't matter, 15 minutes walk from the station, it doesn't matter. Wow, I can never. Second is staying in a safe area. Before you go ahead and suppose you search zone 2 and you get good deal, but kind of do a research of that area. Is that even a good area? Is that a safe area? Go online and check. Third is you can bargain. Apparently you can bargain. Sometimes they do reduce prices. It completely depends in and how, with whom you're bargaining. Suppose you're coming in September and it's a season, right? Students come to London. Bargaining at that time may or may not be an amazing thing to do. So be smart when and when not to bargain. Maybe when you want to change after 6 months and some student or previous tenant just wants to leave the country immediately, there are high chances they will be ready to bargain. Fourth tip is you can come here and search for an accommodation, stay in a hotel or Airbnb, maybe book a room for a month and then find a permanent accommodation. That is what I did. Do I prefer that? Not sure, because it was too stressful, okay? Come here and then find an accommodation in a month when I know I have to leave. The one where I was staying, it was in Waterloo in front of London and the price was like 1600, 400 per week. The stress was too much because where do I stay? It's like an unknown country, unknown city. I have no idea what to do. But again, then I'm just like, you know what? If I had decided to stay at Waterloo, the area is amazing. I love it so much. But the only problem was the bathroom was so bad that I missed my home the first day. I was like, I want to go back. How can the bathroom be so bad? It was so filthy. I can like throw up. It was that bad. And for me, bathrooms matter a lot. But if it doesn't bother you, it's fine. You can go ahead and book it. But I'm so glad that I did not book that place for 12 months. It would have been traumatic. I cannot. If you have a friend who's staying in London, maybe they can check out the place for you. And if they approve, you can go ahead and book from India itself or anywhere you're coming from. Fifth tip is asking people for a review. A lot of times, previous tenants have put on the review or how the landlord is. If you know people in London, if even if you don't know, maybe you can make friends on Instagram or Telegram or any other group and talk to them about the area. Do your research well. Don't just go ahead and invest your money. These are additional points as I'm remembering it. I'm gonna add now. Sometimes you have to pay 6 months in advance if you don't have a guarantor. I have paid my money in advance because I did not have a guarantor. If you have a guarantor, that's great. You can pay monthly. And what's a guarantor? A guarantor is basically somebody who will take the guarantee that you will not leave, or even if you run away, that guarantor has to pay your rent. That guarantor has to be based in London, UK, and should have proper council bills and like a proper resident. Could be an Indian, but like somebody who's paying council tax or council bills. And you just have to send the details to your landlord. They will double check the background. If your guarantor is approved, then you can do the processes ahead. And if you don't have a guarantor but you still want to pay monthly, there are websites who provide guarantors, but that can be expensive. Oh, and I remember, if you are willing to stay in a new property, I've seen a lot of websites who are asking for 12 months advance rent. It's like a new property, new house. You have to pay the rent in advance and you are eligible for living rent free for 6 weeks, something like that. Adding one more point to where to search for apartments, you can also go to sites, just search for new buildings in London. Few of my friends pay less in rent when they stay far away because they are willing to travel 1.5 hour or 1 hour. They do not mind that. A lot of people do not mind that. If you don't have a budget, you can stay for £500. Sometimes they don't ask for a guarantee. There are places that might not have your name on the lease. If you're okay with that, sure, go for it. But I feel for PSW, you should have your name on the lease. Don't quote me on this. Yeah, and that's it. If I have any other suggestions, recommendations, I will definitely put it down in the comments. If you are somebody who has stayed in London, have experience, and if you have tips for people who are traveling to London, definitely do put that in the comments box too. And if you're somebody who's coming to London and if you have more doubts, more questions, definitely let me know again in the comments. I'm going to make a series about helping people who are coming to London. I already have ones about what to pack when you're coming to London. It's literally from A to Z. You don't have to use your brain, you just have to watch that video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with somebody who needs it. Bye, see you.